We get Bernardo, are you okay with us recording?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I saw.
We maybe missed it.
Myra, you're muted. Myra, you're muted. So we need to unmute you.
Okay, there we go. Before we jump, sorry about that. Before we jump into the recording, because I was here late.
And start the recording. We're recording. Okay. So we're going to do the admin portion of the meeting as quickly as we can. Attendance will be taken based on who is here without listing who is not here because of the way that Basecamp is set up at this moment. The duration of this meeting will be no longer than 2 hours, which is now 1 hour and 20 minutes. The notes from the last meeting have been published into the VCI docs and files section. If people have had a chance to take a look at them, are there any questions? Are they acceptable? Anything that we need to change about those notes? I guess first I should ask one question at a time. That would be helpful. Has everyone had a chance to review those notes? No. Okay, so some people have. You are welcome to add any comments underneath the note, underneath the notes in the docs and files section so that we can take a look at those and see if we need to do anything differently with them. Are there any other, since we did do some announcements during the check-in, are there any other announcements that from outside this group that we need to make at this time? No, okay. Hi, Dharmendra, welcome. And because you're not showing, oh, you have unmuted. Would you like to do a quick check-in, Dharmendra? Our check-in question was, what has inspired you in the vegan world during the last week? Would you like to do a quick check-in?
Just the fact that it exists. Thank God for vegan world. What more can I say?
That's fabulous. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay. And our next meeting will be next Tuesday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and other times in other time zones. Can I have consent to use this agenda? Has everyone had a chance to look over the agenda that was sent out yesterday on the early side for the first time ever? And I appreciate everyone's work on putting that agenda together because that was really a joint effort of the entire process proposal group. Are there any questions or comments about the agenda? And if you haven't seen the agenda, we will be putting some things on the screen to walk through the process of developing our vision, mission, aims, and culture within the VCI group. So I think that will be helpful to be able to see some things. So any questions, comments about the agenda?
I just want to say real quick that I won't be able to be verbal consenting and you can't see me visually. So just know that I consent to whatever is happening because I like all of it. And I haven't ever wanted to not consent to anything. So.
And Dharmendra, thank you very much, because as facilitator, when I can't see people, I don't know if I should be asking, and I don't know if you can say anything. So I appreciate that a great deal. I will not be calling on you during the meeting. If you want to add something, please feel free to chat or break in verbally.
Beautiful, thank you.
Okay, can I have consent to move forward with this agenda?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. We're going to give a status report from the process proposal work group on the prototype that has been developed. And we give a huge thank you to Jorge because he has done the massive amount of work on putting this prototype together. And we're extremely grateful. And we're really excited. I'm really excited. I think we're all really excited about getting this out and using this and figuring out how it's going to work and what's going to happen. So we sent out a link for everyone to see all of the work. So the work includes an email that will go to everyone in Basecamp, and a tutorial about how to use this piece. And what we want to do is walk through all of that tonight with everyone here so that we can explain and discuss all of that. So Jorge, are you ready to take us through that piece of work at this point?
Okay, I'm gonna share the screen. Ha 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 ha. Has everybody seen the tutorial that was posted on the agenda?
Yes.
Only Anne, Suzanne, Benjamin? No. No, Melissa. Okay. All right.
So maybe what we want to do, Jorge, is show that it's 4.5 minutes, and perhaps it makes sense.
Yeah.
to-
I don't know if video works really well on Zoom. I think it's better to be run locally. Like if I play it
Gotcha.
on my computer, it's not going to work very well.
Yeah, and Jorge, I need to ask you to slow down because Jackie's right. She's slowing me down, and she has asked the question, can someone explain for the new people what we're working on and why? And that's a really good question, Jackie, and I should have I should have thought about that before. I was so excited because we got the agenda out early and we got this link out, and I was excited about that. But yes, so let me back way up. This group, the Vegan World 2026 Collective Intelligence Group, is a group that will essentially act like a hub for all of Basecamp. Basecamp is the online think tank for Vegan World 2026, and at this moment contains 26 or 27 different groups working on different issues. So for example, Keith is heading a group about the stewardship of nature. Ray is helping to organize all of it as a project manager. There is a medical education task force. There is a solar radiation management study group. So there are many different topics. And VCI is essentially going to be the hub group where all of those groups come and report. And we're trying to figure out what the vision, mission, aims, and aims in this context is used in the same way that the word goals would be used, the goals of the group, and our culture. How do we want to treat each other while we do this work? And this is unique in a way because the vast majority of people who work on this are volunteers, and the vast number of people probably did not spend their entire careers in this field. So that's a bit unique. And the complexity of assisting the world and moving from normalized violence to normalized nonviolence, and from a predator species to a caretaker species, and all of the other shifts that Climate Healers has shared about what we need to do in the world to move from where we are to saving the planet and life on Earth. It's kind of a big deal. So this group is attempting to figure out a couple of things, those specifics about this group, what our vision, mission, aims, and culture will be, but also the governance model for all of Vegan World 2026. And so we are beginning to use something called sociocracy, and we're learning about it by using it. And we thought this was a great place to start by including everyone who is a part of Basecamp, which is 300 plus people at this point, to help us to figure out what the vision, mission, aims, and culture of this one group, one circle within this much larger entity will be. And so Jorge has had experience. Oh, Many Voices, you got the book, Melissa. Excellent, excellent. I love that. Yes, yes, I have there's mine. And So we are, this is a weird thing, and they talk about in the beginning of the book about how do you tell people how to self-govern? Like that's an oxymoron. So we're not saying that people have to do this. We're saying we want to try this. We want to understand it. We want to use it and see if it works. And our belief is that if it works within the Vegan Collective Intelligence Group, it will naturally move out into all of the other circles, because people from the other circles will become part of this circle. And assuming that it is the right governance model, it will feel natural, it will feel right, and it will move throughout the entire organization. We also think it's going to take a little time. It's not going to happen by next week. It's going to take a little bit more time for that. So there are a number of things that are happening over on the chat. So I would like to slow down and take a look at those before we move on further with questions. If you have questions, either jot them down or hold them in your minds while I look at these things. Okay, I don't see the link to the video, and Jorge says the agenda is on the comments on the Space Camp link, and the video is on the link mentioned on the first paragraph of the agenda. Okay, and it looks like Shankar has to step out the door for a moment. So Jorge says, oh, Keith says, is this the VMA&C prototype announcement? Oh, and Ray says, an emergency has come up. I have to leave. I'm so sorry, Ray. Our thoughts are with you, and he's already gone. So we are very sorry about that. Jorge shares the link to the prototype, and that starts with the announcement to the 300 people in base camp. So if that's what you're seeing, that is what we're talking about. And Jackie says that she hopes everything is well with Ray. And Jorge says, goodbye, Ray. Okay. All right. So are there questions? That was a quick summary about what it is that we're doing. Well, first, are there other people who have been involved in this process that want to add more to what I said to help new people understand this before we move on to questions? Okay. Are there specific questions? So we're going to get into the weeds. You know, we're going to get into the detail here in just a couple of minutes, but there are some overarching questions that anyone would like to ask at this time. Okay, cool. Oh, comment by Suzanne. Suzanne, did you want? I'm not sure what that means, Keith.
Yeah, like Keith is saying that in the link of the Zoom call, the first comment is Suzanne, which is actually the agenda to this meeting.
Yes, got it.
And in that comment, the first paragraph includes the link to the prototype, which includes the video of the tutorial.
Gotcha. Okay, excellent. Okay, so now we can kind of walk through the prototype to talk about it in detail so that the people on this particular call understand it, so that we can make a decision. And we're going to do this in two parts tonight. We're going to walk through the first piece, which is collecting questions and how we would do that and make a decision about that. And then we're going to talk about kind of the plan for rolling out all of it and get consensus or not about using that for the other three sections. So Jorge, I'm going to turn it back to you and have you take it from here.
All right, I'm reading that Keith actually saw that tutorial and didn't know what to make of it. Actually, like the video, the video is under the same message board comment, message board post, which includes after the video a text that gives context of what is the tutorial video all about. Assuming that most of us didn't go through the whole thing, basically it refers to what Anne just explained. Like we're proposing a first step of a sociocracy process that is meant to help us out to establish who we are and what is our work, which are our aims and our culture under the VCI, which belongs to Vegan World 2026, which spreads out from Climate Healers. So the idea is for all the 300 and plus volunteers on Basecamp right now to receive this call to participate on the first step, and all together in a collective intelligence first step, ask questions about what do we think our work is, who are we as VCI. Maybe people are not going to say, well, I'm not part of VCI. Well, that's a valid question. If they want to say, why am I supposed to ask questions? Welcome that, because that will give us the perspective of everyone. So people that are already active in VCI, people that are not active yet on VCI, but are part of the pool of the 300 and plus volunteers in Vegan World 2026, which are not actually part of any study group or task force or in anything so far, right? So what Anne also explained is that with this process, the idea is to propose it to all other circles, which are study groups and task forces, to also implement something sort of what we're doing, this proposal forming of vision, mission, aims, and culture for VCI, but for each of the circles. So this gives us an idea of which questions are already part of these 26 or whatever number groups. And if these are the actual questions that we want to work on each of the circles, which is the vision, now what is the vision and what is the mission and aims of all the circles? So this is a process that can replicate. But to start off from the circle that connects all others is the VCI. The VCI is the proposed circle that will connect all other circles. So in that text under the prototype, the copy that accompanies the tutorial video, let me see if I can share that screen so everybody can see the prototype. Would that be helpful for everyone?
I think it would be helpful. And while you're doing that, Jorge, I just wanted to kind of remind people that the first Vegan World 2026 conference was in October of 2018. And while there were some groups put together between 2018 and 2019, my understanding, and I wasn't there, but my understanding is not a lot of activity happened between October 2018 and October 2019. Then in this past October, there was the second conference, and a lot more activity got started. And there has not been any governance model. And we want to try to implement a governance model that fits with all of the values of Vegan World 2026, in that we want it to be very inclusive and very egalitarian. And so we have some people who are involved who have used Sociocracy before, and they brought this up to us and said, we think that this might be a really good way to do this work. And so several of us are checking it out and trying to use it. And I think it's really exciting. Most of my life, all except one time in my life, I have entered an organization that had a clear hierarchy that was already set up. And this time we get to help figure out how to design that. And it's really it's pretty cool to me. I'm kind of geeky about that. I didn't mean to stop you from sharing that, Jorge. I just wanted to say those few.
It was very important to mention what you just did. And here it is. So this is the comment to the Zoom call made by Suzanne yesterday. And this is the agenda of this meeting, correct? We're all following that. So Suzanne mentions that in item number 4, there is a prototype to invite all the volunteers. And this is the link to that. I'm gonna click on it now. So this would be a message board post that right now is on prototype status for us to review. And eventually during this meeting, consent with concerns, or object. And the idea before the meeting ends is to clear out whatever concerns or objections so we can send it out for the 300 and plus volunteers in Vegan World 2026.
And
So-
Jorge, can
Yes.
we talk about consent meaning good enough for now and safe enough to try? Can you just chat about that for a moment? Because we've got
Okay.
people here who weren't part of that discussion the last couple of weeks.
Okay, yes, sure. So this is a process to have collective decision making in a method called sociocracy. So I'm gonna see that at the end of this message board that I am right now sharing with you. There is a link to sociocracy explained really in a very succinct manner. So you don't have to go in and become an expert about sociocracy. That is included in the invitation for the 300 plus volunteers. It's under here, no? Watching the tutorial. Click here if you wish to dive deeper. So I'm gonna click here. And this opens a primer on sociocracy. So if you really want to learn more about sociocracy, this is the place that you can play some really short videos suggested by volunteers of this Basecamp platform. Some longer ones if you really get engaged and you want to see more how it works. But one of the main ways that we can move around in orderly planned conversations, it's in circles, no? Going in rounds. So every voice is heard. And one of the moments on those rounds is to, okay, this is going to be like a short way to explain it, but it's for the purpose of some sort of things like the one that we are discussing on this meeting, the proposal that we want to send out, no, to the 300 plus volunteers. It will come the time that we're going to ask to go around, and each one of us are going to say, I consent, or I consent with concerns, or the third option is I object. So then, if everybody consents, there's no need to keep on the process, no? It's already decided on collectively, and it's going to be sent out. What happens if there is a concern? After the round, the people with concerns are going to have the chance to talk about their concerns. So, like, it's not a complete objection. It's just like, okay, I want to consent, but I have a concern. So I want to just like air it out and say, yeah, there's a concern on this aspect of the proposal. So the idea is that those concerns are cleared out. And in the case of an objection, we also have the opportunity to hear what is the objection all about and to have the opportunity to clear it out during the same meeting. If that is accomplished, then we do another round and say, okay, I consent. So we're looking for a way to move on to the action with a clear consent from everybody involved. So I know that this VCI group has some sort of prerequisite to be able to vote or to do these rounds. I'm not sure how to install it right now because there's not like a group that is constant. Some of us are or have been, some longer than even Sylvia and I, and some is the first time, right? So I remember that Silesh said that to be able to participate in the VCI meetings for decision making, he said that there's a 3 auditing meeting requirement. So that means that we need to come to the meetings 3 times. Is that the understanding that we all have? Like, this is what I understood. And I want to open the question for all.
Yeah, and I understand that is the process that they used when he was developing the internet, that you had to observe 3 times and then submit something, and the bigger group would approve you becoming a voting member, a decision-making member. That we're in this weird space, Jorge, where we haven't totally adopted sociocracy and we haven't made that decision yet, and yet we're acting, well, we're actually not. We've simply allowed people to be coming in. So I'm a little bit unclear. Do we say, if you haven't been here for 3 meetings yet, you're not voting? Or do we take a vote of the people who are here? See, it gets more complicated because there are actually 50 people who have signed up for VCI, and yet we get 15 or 12 or whatever at the meetings. And so we're taking attendance based on who comes, not on who doesn't come. Because the other thing was you had to have at least 50% of the people voting. Well, we've not ever had 50% of the people at the meeting. And we don't want to stop progress. Yes, Melissa, please. We got to figure.
Sorry, I'm going to take us back just a little second. I'm sorry about this. But so Jorge, what you've just shown us, I just checked my Basecamp and my emails and it doesn't appear anywhere. So where would I have seen that?
Right now, it's posted by Suzanne as, let me share the screen again so it's easier to describe.
Thank
Just
you.
a second. Okay. All right. So here it goes. I'm gonna go back. So right here we see that this Vegan World 2026 under schedule. There's a meeting scheduled by Benjamin. He did this on Sunday at 7:30 p.m.
Oh,
So
yeah. Okay.
on a comment, the first and only comment on that meeting scheduled, you will see Suzanne King
Okay.
posting on February 3rd, I think that was yesterday, the agenda. And on the agenda, on the first paragraph, it says that item number 4 will require a pre-meeting action, which is like going and check the prototype out. And here you will see the prototype that hasn't been sent yet. It's supposed to be sent in the scenario of a consent during this meeting. And here I was describing the structure of this call to the volunteers, which includes these elements: a title, which is very descriptive of what we're doing, a video tutorial of the action that we're requesting for the volunteers to do, and a context given by this following text.
Okay,
Referring-
I see all of that. That was really clear. It's just where to find the into that. And it looks like it didn't come to me through Benjamin, but it came through a separate email from Suzanne that I just didn't see.
Right. So yeah, and it was also posted in, I think, 3 different places. So that's Vegan World 2026 schedule. It was also posted on the VCI schedule, and I think it was posted on the process group schedule, which, so you might have gotten 2 notices, but that's also a conundrum about the number of notices that we're getting about things. And there have been a lot of people who are missing things because of how many things come in. And that's a bigger issue. And it's an issue that we need to have some conversation with Ray or with Basecamp about, to try and figure out how we do this.
And this is going to be part of the asking questions, like,
right.
How do we communicate? Like this is the basis to start making rules and agreements of how are we going to work? But first, we need to know what is our work. So all of these questions, and I'm actually going to take this moment to honor a request from Jackie, trying to explain the nature of the questions. Like the questions are going to be, let me see if I can show that again with the share screen thing. So I'm going to show you just like a list of all the questions that my mind has. And I'm sure that everybody here also has some sort of questions, but I don't see a way to share my notes. Here it is. I think this is it. Can you see my notes right now?
No, it's a blank screen. It says Jorge has started screen sharing, but it's black.
Oh, really? Okay, so maybe let me copy them to an email. These are the glitches of Zoom. Okay, so I'm gonna paste them somewhere else. Yeah, I'm gonna share actually the format that we're going to use on a Google spreadsheet and copy it there. Okay, compartir, Google Chrome. There, you should be able to see a spreadsheet, right? Yes,
Yep,
okay.
it's up. Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to my notes where I have written down a lot of questions I have regarding the vision, the mission, the aims, and the culture that I would like to participate with on the first step of this process. Okay, I'm back to spreadsheet and now I'm pasting them. Okay, format, text wrap. Okay, maybe I will try to do it a little bit bigger. I know that spreadsheet, it has like a very weird interface, but I believe that this is big enough for you to read the questions, right?
Yeah, we can see it just fine, Jorge.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Jamin. So here there are, like, does VCI stands for Vegan World 2026, something so simple, but considering that we are over 300 plus, it's a question that should be there. No? There's no wrong question as long as it is in the question form, you know, like in the form of a question, starting with does, what, who, and ending with a question mark without pre-answering it or making it in the form of a proposal. You know, it has to be open-ended questions regarding the purpose of this process, which is understanding many questions that we have without answers or without collective agreed answers. And here you will see I have a lot of them. So, do we have the 7 core shifts present every time we think about Vegan World 2026? Right? Is leading a vegan lifestyle the same as the 7 core shifts? What is VCI to Vegan World 2026? So every question that you have regarding what are we doing here, specifically thinking about VCI, but keeping in mind that this process would be very helpful to be replicated in all other circles after this is finished. Because this will give us a very clear common ground we have amongst all the circles. Because VCI is proposed to be the circle that is going to connect all other circles. How? As it is explained, is this okay for me to stop sharing the questions? Like, is this clear enough to what questions are supposed to be helpful for? Yeah, can I?
Yeah, works for me.
Yeah,
All
it looks
right.
like everyone was nodding. I was trying to see, I
Okay.
can't see everyone at one time, so I had to move my.
Okay. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Jamin. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing this. And please, and if you want to know more about sociocracy, like let's remember that most of the people don't have the time yet to even come and populate the circles. So we're trying to give in this call to action the optional links for people to say, hey, I want to know more about this process, and click on the hyperlinks. I'm going to share that screen again. Just allow me a second. Safari. Okay. Okay, I'm back to the Basecamp. Do we all see it, right? So it starts with a tutorial, which is barely over 4 minutes. Okay, I see a chat. Shankar, thank you. All right. And here it explains what is the process that we're proposing, what we are requesting the volunteers to contribute willingly, no? If they feel like it. We're referring back to the tutorial many times so people can read and watch the tutorial. We're also giving hyperlinks to other projects related to the Vegan World 2026. The broader project or sister project is Prevent Year Zero, which are both projects, Vegan World 2026 and Prevent Year Zero, of climate healers. So these are hyperlinks that will provide more information in case the volunteers want to, no? Want to learn more about this. And here it says, click here if you wish to learn more about the process. So if they click here, they will find the primer on sociocracy. So I encourage you after the meeting or to take the break that we're going to have soon on this meeting. If you want to know more about sociocracy, I can explain it, but I think that this video would be very helpful to watch. It's under 5 minutes. It's an official video from one of the main organizations in the United States called SOFA, Sociocracy for All, explaining what it's all about. No? And you can see more in depth while you scroll down how sociocracy can be implemented in a group with the same characteristics as the Vegan World 2026, using Zoom, using Basecamp in a volunteer basis, and remote work, right? And then how sociocracy is in schools in case the parenting and education study group wants to see how sociocracy has been used in schools and how it actually came out of schools. This is a process that is close to 100 years old, that came from Europe, used in schools first, then in the corporate world. So as I said before, like, depends on your interest, you will dive deeper and learn more about it. Okay, Dharmendra left. Keith, what is Sociocracy web link that has the Sociocracy primer on it? On the Keith, are you able to see my screen on the prototype that we're talking about?
Yes, I can see the screen. I've actually watched that video. I'm looking for the. It looks like there was a primer on the sociocracy. I just wanted to see a web link. Like, could you put it in the chat so I can copy it and look at it?
Yes, I'm gonna show it to you where it is. Here, when it says click here.
I clicked there earlier and it went nowhere. It said, sorry, we can't display that link or something. Let's see. Let me try it again.
Okay, maybe it's a technical thing. I don't know
I
if
think it is. But if you,
I will copy it for you on the chat box as you're requesting.
yes,
But
please.
maybe one of the explanations is that you are not in the VCI yet. I don't know.
No,
Like
I'm
I
not.
you're not in the group. Maybe that's the reason.
Oh, okay. That would make
Yeah,
sense.
maybe that's the reason, because that primer on sociocracy is on a draft status. It's not even published.
Yeah,
So once,
that's why I can't see it. Okay. So if just
okay,
so I can look at it somewhere.
okay, if you allow me, I can add you to the VCI if that's what you would like to be part of. Not as an active member, just part of the group, so you can receive notifications and see the scheduled meetings. Would you like that?
Yes, yes, that's great.
Okay, so I'm gonna go there and add you right now.
All right, and I'd like to, in looking at our time and looking at the agenda,
Yes.
this portion of the agenda was for us to do a status report on the VCI process. There's one piece that we just haven't talked about at all, and it is very short, that Benjamin and Suzanne have suggested that they will host an open house to talk about this on Saturday, February 8th, this Saturday, between 9 and 10 a.m. Pacific time and between 9 and 10 p.m. Pacific time, so that this will go out and then people will be told, hey, if you want to talk about it before you submit questions, you could meet with them during that time. But this portion of the meeting does not actually require consent, because the way we broke the agenda down was that the next piece will go into a little bit of conversation about the next three processes, just to talk about them. And then we will ask for consent with concerns or objections to moving forward with this. So I'd like to ask, again, partially because of time and partially because I think we need to take a little bit of a break and let this kind of move through ourselves and think a little bit. Actually, what I'm suggesting is that we take a break and we come back and I ask the question, are there other clarifying questions about that process? And then we will move into the consent piece about the process overall, so that we have a minute or two to think about it. And again, I think this is kind of complicated, because almost always you walk into an organization that has a governance model. If you choose to change the governance model, there's already one in effect that dictates, for lack of a better term, how you move to something else. In this particular case, we don't have a governance model. So we're trying to figure it out, and we're pulling new people in all the time, which we want to do, and which is very complicated, because some of us have been meeting since November, since the first week in November. Some of us have added all the way along. Some people aren't here that are going to be coming back, and there are new people. It's just complicated. So we need to have some patience. We might need to slow down even a little bit more. Part of us is saying, let's get into this and see how it works, because it's not going to bite us. We don't believe. Well, the term in sociocracy, and it's taking me a while to really grasp this, so I'm also going to ask you for our 5-minute break to think about this. Is this good enough for now? And is it safe enough to try? And when you think about both of those things, none of the things that are being proposed will be set in stone for the next decade. Is it good enough to try? I mean, is it good enough for now? And is it safe enough to try? Good enough and safe enough are the two kinds of benchmarks to think about. And that in my professional career, that has not been the benchmark. So I'd like you to think about that. So let's go ahead. Let's take a deep breath together, and then let's take a 5-minute break. Get a nice glass of water. Yeah. Inhale. Relax on the exhale. Let's do 3 deep breaths. And let's take a break for 5 minutes. I'm going to put my timer on and we will be back shortly. All right. Okay. You just heard. So clarifying questions. Oh, I'm sorry.
Keith is saying that he had to leave, but that he's good to go. And tentatively he will have questions later, but he's giving like a go for it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. So it looks like we know that Dharmendra had to go. Amira was on for a little bit. She's gone. We're not, oh, Myra is still here. Yep. Okay. All right. So are there any clarifying questions about the work? And hopefully Shankar and Jackie are still nearby. Oh, and Sylvie's still here. Excellent.
Yes,
No?
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Okay, no clarifying questions. Then we are going to move on with the process proposal for all 4 steps. And that's just to walk through them so that we have some understanding that what we talked about thus far was the first step, which is collecting the questions. And we are proposing that we essentially have 1 week for each step of the process. So we would send out the information that we have put together. We would post that on the Vegan World 2026 main message board and make it public within Basecamp tonight and collect questions through next Monday, and then make a report back to this group on Monday the 11th. Tuesday the 11th, I'm sorry. We meet on Tuesdays. The second step would be then that we would synthesize the questions, and our hope, and I have to be totally honest, I don't believe there's a one of us that thinks all 300 people are going to submit a question. We're pretty certain that they won't. But we hope that some people will, and some people will become really interested in this and want to join BCI. And ultimately, we need to have people from every other circle on BCI. So we're hoping that some people will go, wow, this is kind of interesting. I want to know more about this. And they will join BCR and possibly join the process subgroup to actually work on this process. So then during that second week, we will synthesize the questions and we'll figure out, the process proposal group has already agreed that Jorge, Benjamin, and Shankar will be the 3 people who are managing the spreadsheet and putting the questions on and doing those things. We'll figure out who will be synthesizing the questions during that second week, and we will do that between Tuesday, February 11th and Monday, February 17th with a report back to the full group on the 18th. Then we will answer those questions. So we collected questions, we synthesize them, so we only have to answer each question 1 time. And then we answer the question during the 3rd week. So that would happen between the 18th and the 24th of February with a report back, well, I said February 24th, should have been the 23rd, and then a report back on the 24th to this full group. And then once everything is answered, that will lead us to the proposal to determine what our vision, mission, aims, and culture will look like. And we will literally do that between February 25th and March 2nd with a proposal back to the full group on March 3rd. So by March 3rd, we expect to be coming back to say, the VCI vision is this. We are proposing that the VCI vision is this, the mission is this, the aims are these, because there will be multiples, and our culture looks like this. And then BCI will be able to consent to that full document on March 3rd. And then, so we're taking a bit to develop this governance model so that we can get to the point where we know who we are and what our work is, so that we can begin doing the things that need to be done to move this forward. Our hope is that enough people will become interested during this 4 weeks that we'll have representation from a number of other circles. And I saw that, Melissa. I'll be right there. I'm not going to forget. We probably will still have to ask for representation from some of the circles, because some of the circles have people signed up, but they're not really doing anything, and we got to figure out how to do that. But at that point, we will have a clear path forward. And hopefully then the work will begin to happen very quickly. And a lot of the work will happen outside of the formal meetings, with reports and decision-making happening during the meetings. And we will be able to time them better, and we will be able to organize them in a way so that if someone is only interested in this, they can come for 20 minutes of that meeting. They don't have to be here for the whole thing. That's what our goal for this process is. So that's pretty much what the whole process is. So questions? Melissa, you had your hand up.
This might be getting a little too far ahead, but I was just wondering, you know how as you go along and move through something, things evolve and change. So I was just wondering, within this process, what happens? Like if our mission statement, you know, as we evolve, we change it, or our aims, etc. How do we process that?
So within Sociocracy, and Jorge, please correct me if I'm incorrect here, but we will choose a time frame. So for some things, it might be 3 months. For something like the vision, mission, aims, and culture, it's probably going to be a year. So we'll probably say, we're going to put this into place until March of 2021, unless someone has an objection to that, because you could bring an objection up and say, I think we need to add an aim, we need to do something, and then there would be a conversation that would get started. But there will be some sort of time frame to take a look at things again. And it might be as simple as, you know, does everyone consent to continuing with this? And there'd be that conversation. And it might be something much bigger than that. Jorge, is that accurate?
Yeah, exactly. This is going to take, at least for what Anne described, a month, and it's going to be highly collaboratively. We're going to see each other so many times a week. The idea is not to finalize the vision, mission, aims, and culture just at the end of this process. The end of the process is to propose the result of the collecting questions, the synthesizing questions, the answering to the questions, and then finally make a proposal. So considering that a lot of people are going to be involved, at the proposal meeting, we need to specify the expiration date of this vision, mission, aims, and culture. So in agreement, we will say, as Anne expressed, let's see how it goes for the first 6 months of the year, to say something. And maybe somebody's concerned, no? I don't know, maybe it's too long, how 3 months? So this is going to be aired out and collectively come to a decision together.
Okay, so that answers your question, Melissa. Are there other questions? Oh, double thumbs. Other questions?
Nice doggy.
That's a beautiful dog. All right, no other questions. Okay. Are there any other comments? Any discussion that we need to have? And I just realized, oh yeah, no, I do. Okay, so no other questions. So can we have a consent round where we ask everyone, if you consent with concern or object to moving forward with this proposal? And do we want to do that just with our hands? Shankar, are you able to come on screen or to tell us? Yes, okay. So do we have Melissa, I didn't see. Yes. Okay. Excellent. Oh my God. How exciting. So we need, who was it that did the dance? Was that Patricia the other day? Anybody? Oh, Jamin, please. A little dance, a little
Dale a
celebration.
tu cuerpo alegría, Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para darle alegría, cosa buena. Dale a tu cuerpo alegría, Macarena. Macarena.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We need to have a little celebration when we, actually do one of these things. Okay, now for the things that are in the weeds, and I'm not sure that we can answer these things, or perhaps we can, but some of the questions that came up as we were doing this is that, moving forward with all these inclusive processes means that we need to have some things that will make that work a little bit easier, like an official Google Drive account. And I'm asking these questions because we talked about them, and I barely understand them because I'm not technically savvy. So the people who are welcome to jump in at any second. I'll read what I've got here, and I only gathered 2 of them. It seemed like there were more. Having an official Google Drive account and understanding exactly where on YouTube all of these recordings are posted that people can get to. And do other people remember other things that we said we needed to have in place for this all to move forward? Yes, Benjamin.
I had one comment, and maybe I guess the one comment I have is, when we do send out this notification, the prototype, when we publish the prototype to all 300 base campers, we need to make sure that, like that sociocracy page that you made, Jorge, that we make that public. And I'm not sure if that means you have to change the link within the message itself. Because you know how,
we do.
Okay, so we would have to update that link so that when people do click through on that link, if they aren't part of the VCI group, they can still access it.
I am preparing everything right now, so hopefully it will be ready to publish with that glitch fixed before we end the meeting.
Cool.
Beautiful.
And then, Jorge, I also added some language to the prototype about the open house that Benjamin and I said that we would host. So maybe, I want to have a link to the calendar event that we can put in there so they can, I don't know. Maybe we talk before it goes live.
Wait. So you don't want it sent right now? What, like?
So we're going to try to include the open house Zoom links for this weekend within the article, so that people can, if they have any questions, they would know to when and where to go.
Or could
Okay.
that be the first comment? I mean, well, that page would still have.
Oh,
That's a great
That's
idea.
a great idea. Let's do it that way.
Well, then,
We solved a technical problem. Oh my God, you guys.
but then I do need Jorge. So
Yes.
I have parentheses that say, like Zoom link to be added here. So if you could just delete those parentheses, then.
Do you want to stay after?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. And it's easy, no? It's a link.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Excellent.
So I think in terms of the Google Drive account and the YouTube stuff, I think we need to go to Ray and ask formally from him what the Climate Healers response to that is. I mean, it seems like we can't actually make that decision right here, right now. So I'm gonna just make a note that says we need to ask that question. And the YouTube channel question, I think that's not really related to specifically to what we're trying to get out tonight. It's just questions that have come up that we wanted to gather. So I'm gonna set them aside, not let them go, ask Ray. We'll make another report back to this group next week with those questions and answers. Is there anything else either about getting the collecting questions prototype live, or anything about any other part of moving forward that we need to talk about. Wow, you guys, we're going to actually get this thing out before the end of the meeting time tonight and end the meeting on time. This is like so exciting to me. Yeah, so excellent. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oops, there's a, oh, yay, Shankar says yay, yes. I'm, yeah, this is very cool. Okay, so thank you all. And I would like to have a checkout round in which you share anything that you are thinking or feeling at the end of this meeting. And Shankar, do you want to start?
Sure. So I still want to see how the questions are flowing in, or how we are seeing them going as a proposal.
So, so I hope you ask some questions, Shankar, because I think we all want to see them. And I think if we could all ask a couple, that might get some excitement going if people see things are happening. So I would encourage all of us to throw a couple questions.
Yes. Actually, Jorge already gave a training for me and Benjamin.
Cool. Very cool. All right. Myra, are you ready to do your checkout? Oh, maybe.
Hi, I'm here. I'm listening to everything. It's just my my cooking time for the kids, and I'm going up and down. I think I'll skip. I'll listen to everybody else, and then I'll be the last one.
Okay, cool. I'll come back to you at the end. And if I forget, somebody else remind me to do that. Jackie?
I am completely inspired and motivated. I mean, every single meeting, it becomes exponentially expansive, and it's amazing how much from week to week, how much of the vision is materializing before us. It's so exciting, and my heart is just exploding.
Thank you. And I particularly am grateful to you for bringing a non-human into the meeting. So I think that is important for us to have. And my guys are sound asleep on beds on the floor because they're like, it's way too late. So having yours on camera is really good. Melissa, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm really excited about all of this. This is such a wonderful way to move forward and create a whole new world. I love working with this group, and I'm just inspired. So thank you guys for always being here, and love all of you.
Thanks, Melissa. Thank you. Benjamin and Suzanne, are you ready? Oh, I think there's a lot of love. Before you guys start, I think there's a lot of love going around here. So
lots of love.
Yeah, yeah.
So much love for all of you. This has been really fun. It's been a productive meeting. I'm looking forward to start putting it out there and getting some responses. And I'm just continuing to be. I'm just still very grateful for all the work that's being done here and for sticking through the muddy parts where we're just trying to figure it out. I think this was by far the clearest we've been able to synthesize all of this in a meeting yet. So I'm pretty happy about that.
I want to second what Jackie and Melissa said with feeling inspired. I'm feeling that too. So thank you all.
Cool. Very cool. Jamin?
Yeah, super excited, grateful for everything that's going on. Excited for the after party continuation of this call and to share what's going on with collective intelligence generally, especially around the Valentine's Day 24-hour block party that's coming up. And just one quick question. I wasn't quite clear on what the open house is that's happening this Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. and p.m. Like to just hear a little more about that. And I'm just super psyched. Love you all.
So Benjamin and Suzanne, do you want to share?
Sure. Yeah, so the thought was, when we initially talked about doing a tutorial to get the whole of Basecamp involved in the question asking, Dr. Rao suggested that it be a live tutorial. And this is kind of like a hybrid solution where we have a recorded tutorial and a message board that people can refer back to at any time, and then a supplemental live session where people can come and ask questions. And maybe people won't come. I guess it was our way of having a live component to the tutorial. And with the idea having it being scheduled on a Saturday or a few days into the week of question gathering, so that we can hopefully as a group start adding our questions and get the momentum going, and then have this live open house where if people are thinking of jumping in but don't know how, then they can come and talk to us. So it's kind of an experiment and kind of just trying to open the accessibility of this.
Thank you. Perfect.
I just wanted to say I love the idea of the open house. That is brilliant, you guys. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of the block party in a way. And Ray had an open house for Vegan World 2026 last week, and yeah, I think there's value in just kind of having this space open and seeing what happens.
Cool, very cool. And Myra, I have to apologize because I did not see that you had done a chat saying that you're doing dinner and that you're listening and that things are clear. So I apologize. So I'm going to ask Jorge and Sylvie to jump in. Oh, and there you are. Would you like to go now? You're still muted. Would you like to do your checkout now?
Yeah, definitely. My life is a little bit hectic, almost every day. I'm running always up and down. I give yoga class in the morning, and then I give yoga class at 5:30. So I'm walking out to the park, making sure that the person that I need to meet is right there. But anyways, I do want to say thank you. And today's meeting looks like everything is unfolding just the way that we want it to be. I fall in love with you guys every time that I'm here, listening, enjoying every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mara. That's, I think there's some mutuality going on here with the falling in love with each other.
Yes.
Yeah. Sylvie and Jorge, are you ready to do your checkout?
I'm grateful for the meeting because for me, it clarified things, and I'm very grateful for Jorge for the work he had put in and throughout the week and all the extra meetings and in the video making. And also, like, I felt like the break was good because I had actually something that I thought of, and then he said that would be like a question for the spreadsheet, and then I thought I would never come up with questions. I was like, I don't know, you already put so many, I don't know what questions. So now I have questions, so that's good.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I'm super excited, like I'm ready to press publish, but I'm holding on to get the link for the open house. Hopefully we will see whatever needs to happen. And I think it's all good. I'm very grateful for everybody's co-creation on this.
Yeah, I too am very grateful for everyone and sticking in. I mean, echoing what everyone has said about sticking around through the mud and being inspired and feeling the love. And Jorge, really, your involvement, your gentle guidance to keep us on track about figuring this out and teaching us, or at least teaching me, this concept of good enough and safe enough is really important to being able to get real work done and not waiting, and yet doing it in a very inclusive way where people feel like they are still a part of it. Because, I mean, you can take off and just do things, but involving everyone and still being able to get the work out in a timely fashion is incredibly important. I think that you are incredibly skilled at this, and I'm really grateful. And I'm very grateful for everyone else here, again, for supporting, for contributing, for co-creating, for being persistent. And so I just thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm going to jump off because I have something else that I need to go and do shortly. I know that Jorge and Sylvie and Benjamin and Suzanne are going to stay. Jamin is going to host an after party for a bit, and we will see where we get to. All right? Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you, everybody. Who's staying?
Thank
Well,
you.
Jamin?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna pause recording just for a minute or two, just so that. All right, welcome everyone to the after party of the Vegan World 2026 Collective Intelligence meeting. Maybe a good first thing to do would be, who would like to present or lead a discussion or anything at all here during the after party? Please raise your hand or otherwise make yourself known. Yeah. Okay, Jorge and Jamin. Anyone else has stuff they want to present or lead discussion of?
This is about collective intelligence and super intelligence, correct?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, no, it doesn't have to be. This is just the after party of this meeting. It can be about anything you want. I have stuff to talk about super intelligence, but you talk about whatever you want.
Cool. I just saw the. Do you want to start now or later?
No time like the present. Go for it.
Okay. I saw your invitation for the block party, and it sounds like super ambitious in the size of having it 24 hours every week. And I've noticed, you know, when people tell you something and you start paying attention, I start seeing collective intelligence group everywhere. So it's a very cool idea to have them come all together. I don't know if they have the same approach across all these groups to collective intelligence, or they have their unique way to design it or to talk about it, or who to follow, which authors are like the holy cows, no, of super intelligence. But the one that you suggested of the book that you usually read, what's the name?
Super Intelligence.
Yeah, but the author is from Sweden. What's his name?
Nick Bostrom.
Nick, yes. So this afternoon, before this meeting, I was reading all of the videos that you prompted with the time codes and everything. So that was very helpful to give me a clear idea of what is in your head. That is a lot, Jamin. like you go 1,000 miles per hour. So yeah, like I got to ride your mind a little bit with that video, and yeah, and it's quite a ride. I have to tell you, like, it is big. It is really big. Like, I know that you asked us to put the biggest imagination hat available in the room, and what you're proposing, it's not being even visioned by most of the human beings in the world. Like if you present this to the normal person on the street, they will say, like, what is this? Like it sounds like the Aleph. I don't know if you do have seen that book. I think it's Jorge Luis Borges, I think. and the Aleph, and it talks about how the universe is condensed in the smallest particle. It's like kind of like fractal theory kind of thing. It sounds like that, like everything will be available timelessly. And that technology, like I turn to look at my Mac and I say, this is like obsolete. This technology, like I feel that the Mac is like, wow, no, the state of the art. What you're proposing would make my Mac look like obsolete completely. I don't know if the technology will be available soon. It is scary. Like I also saw one of the interviews very quickly about this guy that I'm kind of like in the love-hate. This interviewer that was or still is a comedian, Joe Rogan, interviewing. The Nick guy from
Nick Bostrom. He interviewed Nick Bostrom. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, recently in September last year. I didn't see the 3 hours of the show of the interview. I just saw like the one that it talks about it's a big hope and a big scare feeling that people get when they talk about what you're talking. Like this is so big, and usually we feel in this human-centric approach to our vision of the universe as we're top of the pyramid, no? Like with our axe all the way to our personal computer, we feel like we're up there. But when you're talking about this kind of super intelligence, it brings me to the sci-fi movies that most of them are apocalyptic, and some of them are really cool, no? Like about these humanoids that are able to go and with all this human knowledge accumulated into the super intelligence, they can go and be the pioneers of the new galaxies and without eating and whatever. So yeah, like it's like I don't know how to build this, and if it would be enough to have human intelligence represented in this super intelligence, because I believe that human intelligence is overrated, because that's the one that we understand the most. So I would like to hear, I don't know if it's a question to you or just like put it out there. If there's like what we talked about at the beginning of the meeting that we just ended, is there like a moment to include other kind of intelligence, like the whole Earth as a planet intelligence? Should we call it intelligence or wisdom or power or knowledge? I don't know what the word would be the best to describe how the universe is co-creating the whole time. But in that universe, the plant intelligence, the animal intelligence, the water intelligence, like how to be inclusive to all these sources. And I put them down because this is all related to the work that we have been hands-on for the last weeks, trying to present the proposal of the sociocracy and the questions, because the name of the circle that will connect all circles is precisely Vegan World 2026 Collective Intelligence Group. So it needs to be addressed also there, no? What is the collective intelligence? And all of what I have mentioned, no? Like, is it collective intelligence without the collective ego, or with the collective ego, with or without the collective trauma, but still keep the human emotional experience and not make it so unreachable by the people on the streets to understand the super intelligence like a superhero from another world, but very close to them.
May I chime in?
Hey, Dharmendra.
Hi, may I respond to that? in Reiki, they have a term, universal life force energy wisdom, which sounds big, but it's not really, because the universal life force moves through every living thing, including all the way down to the rocks and all the way up to the creative intelligence of the universe. And I mean, I don't know if there's a way to simplify that, but the universal life energy wisdom is kind of what the, I guess you could say, collective intelligence of all of us, all of life, you know, together, taken together. I mean, and then if you wanted to specify the plant aspect of that or the animal aspect, but taken as a whole, it's a really beautiful term taken from Reiki. And I'm assuming everybody's familiar with what Reiki is, right? The healing modality, right? Everybody's familiar with that. So I'll just offer that in maybe in a way to begin to open up the discussion about it. That there's already a term there that's used that, you know, acknowledges the intelligence of all life and attunes to it in order to, I guess you could say, communicate energetically with the environment and the beings around whatever source, you know, whether it's human or otherwise, that's conveying that intelligence.
Beautiful discussion and great questions and perspectives, Jorge and Dharmendra. I have a few things to say, and the first thing I want to say is I just really want other people to jump in. So even if I'm talking, just jump in, especially if I say something that inspires you to say something, just jump in, because I normally do a lot of talking and I don't want to hog the microphone, okay? So please, I'm inviting you, requesting you, please interrupt me, okay? Therefore, it's not an interruption. The first thing, one thing I want to respond to first is what you said Jorge, about in response to the vision that and thank you so much for taking the time to look at that. That's, you know, I know it's a lot of material. Thank you. And the question you have is, you know, I don't know when we'll have the technology to do this. The answer to that question is we have the technology right now. In fact, by far the hardest part is Zoom video conferencing. And Zoom, you know, together with Silas and everyone else who built the foundations for the internet that we have today, Zoom has nailed it, right? The fact that we can do this, and I can see Benjamin and Jorge and Maida and comments and everything else and screen share and all that, this is like 99% of it. What's left is to simply plug in to this amazing Zoom platform some other components which are already in existence, right? So it's kind of like when you have a blue Lego block and a red Lego block. Both those blocks are already solid. They're ready to go. They just need to be snapped together, right? So in the last fall, Nolan, who's part of Radish, went to the Zoom conference in California, met with the CEO of Zoom, met with various partners, and one of the things that we're in the process of bolting on is transcription, so that what we're saying is transcribed automatically and in real time. And then those transcriptions, once published on the internet, automatically get indexed by Google and Bing and others. And so that's already a piece that's essentially solved. Now, we want that to be indexed in real time, so that's just a connection piece. How do we get it to be indexed in real time? But you know, the bottom line of the big idea, and I talk about this in that 30 minutes of video, which is on the homepage of Radish right now, is for this Zoom video conference that we're having right now, imagine there's this one and a million others, right? and that they're all happening in parallel, and they're all being transcribed in parallel. And because they're being transcribed and indexed and therefore searchable, anyone can search for whatever they're looking for and find those conversations that they're interested in. And if they're open conversations, they're open to more participants, then the person can just click on the link and go right into that video conference and be a part of it. So the big picture image, I sometimes use the metaphor of a 1,000,000-lane freeway, a 1,000,000-lane highway, where there's a conversation happening on each lane, and it's okay to jump from lane to lane. In fact, it's encouraged. And so what this creates, another visual metaphor, is that of, you know, when you see like a huge flock of birds, like thousands and thousands of birds, and they're all kind of, I think the word is murmur, you know, the big flock, it does this and it does that, and it's just very beautiful to look at. Well, you could think of, once we have, say, you know, 100 million people participating, think of each of those people as like a bird in this big flock. And sometimes a bunch of birds clusters around this topic, and sometimes they cluster around another topic, and meetings happen, and then they disband, and then the people in those meetings go to other meetings. And so so the big picture is humanity coming together and doing this multi-part dance where each conversation is a part of the dance, but it is the whole population of conversations that creates the whole, and all of the people participating that creates the whole. And since everything is transcribed and indexed, so we just have this growing record of all these conversations, which we can use to find each other, find other groups, find other individuals, find conversations that we can jump into. You know, it's a lot to think about, but fortunately, there are enough of us who are willing to think about it, willing to go there and say, yeah, I could imagine that. And you know what? Wow. Once that's actually assembled and working, oh my goodness, anytime a question comes up, boom, you know, a group of people can swarm around it and answer it and then move on, right? Speaking of questions and answers, right? Or maybe if it's a really hard question, they might have to churn on it and more people may need to join, and that meeting may need to split up into 10 different meetings to work on 10 different facets of it and then merge back together, right? So there's all these different kinds of behaviors of individuals, of conversations, of data, and of the software that digests this data and creates interesting, valuable connections from it. There's all kinds of behaviors that are going to be emergent from this new emerging collective superintelligence that we're putting together. And the big idea of the block party is that we simply start and actually do this during a really meaningful period of time, like 24 hours, right? And the whole idea of 24 hours is that some people will join in the morning and say, wow, this is really cool. Oh my goodness, I need to invite other people. Oh, but it's too bad that they didn't know about this meeting. Well, I got good news for you. The meeting's going on for another 20 hours. So even though they didn't know about it, you can tell them now and tell them they've got 20 hours to show up, right? And then likewise, that's the idea of having it every single Friday from here to eternity.
Can I ask a question, Jamin?
Please, please, please.
Is it correct to assume that one of the pieces that we need is just a lot of code to be written to support the platforms and the GUIs that are going to make all this functionality possible?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But the cool thing is, see, collective intelligence is happening right now, literally in this meeting, in this Zoom video conference right now. We're simply talking about expanding it and enriching it and making it more real time. And so another answer to your question is no code needs to be written at all. We just need to show up on Friday, right, and participate. And so even before any new code is written, if there's too many people in the Zoom video conference and people want to talk about different things, we can split up the meeting into different rooms. We may not do that on the 14th because for the first block party, which includes all of us, and so this is kind of like rapid sociocracy, so just speak up if you have a different idea. But the idea is it might be better for all of us to just be in one room for the first one. The first 24-hour block party, we're all together, right? Because there's gonna be a lot of people joining who've never been to one of our meetings before. And they wanna know what's this all about. And we wanna create a very warm welcome for all these newcomers, right? You know, let's get to know each other. And another big purpose of the first meeting, or maybe even the first 2 or 3, is so that these different groups that you've been finding out about Jorge, hey, there's all these different groups working on this part of collective intelligence or this other. Let's all get together, right? Let's bring the collective to collective intelligence, because what we have right now is a whole bunch of separate groups that aren't talking to each other, right? I know Benjamin is really into like improv, jazz, music, people getting together, playing different musics, playing off of each other. Can you imagine if there were an American Society of Improv Musicians who never meet any other improv musicians? They're all in their basement just doing their stuff alone. They talk about getting together, they write about getting together, but they never get together. Well, that's the state of the collective intelligence industry right now. A bunch of separate groups who don't know how to put it together.
Wow, I think you really hit the nail on the head on that one, Jamin. Because when you bring up an example of jazz musicians or skilled musical, players, and it immediately made me think of how many people, taking a different example, who are into Tai Chi and stuff, who've been doing it for decades, who also have deep wisdom, and it's all separate too. There's nobody connecting there either. And it's like, I just got this hit, my God, we're really creating something here where we can start to create, like you've been saying, over and over and over and over and over, the conversation. Open up the conversation. And then from there, we can start finding those who have, deep wisdom in the fields we have wisdom in, hopefully, and start. That just made a lot of sense. So really cool what you just said. Just reflecting what you just said. And just for the record, we're still recording, right?
We are absolutely recording, yes.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. No, good stuff. And so
I want to say that really hit close to home, because that's the same feeling I have with the Vegan World 2026. Like there's so many vegan organizations or vegan friendly, even if they don't know it, we have so much in common, right? And we're working all disassembled. And that there's a beauty to that, because all roads are super beautiful, but at the same time, it's like repeating the work that is already done and not using the resources that are already available, and to come in numbers, to show up as one, not as a fragmented, divided by these little nuances that are really not the essence of what we are trying to say that we're doing, no? Because we say, oh, it's for the animals, it's for the planet, it's for the health, and we see this separate. And maybe the super intelligence is kind of the opportunity to say, we don't have the answer to solve the whole thing. We only have one part of it. Right? So I don't know if sociocracy and superintelligence have that in common also, in a completely different way to approach solutions. But they're in parallel, like one with a lot of technology, the other one with a lot of social technology based on participation. But at the same time, I heard you saying that the prime substance of superintelligence is not Zoom, is not mega powerful servers or great indexing code or whatever. It's conversations.
Yeah, and basically you could think of Zoom and transcription and indexing and all these other tools as really kind of like, sort of like a mashup between a spider's web and glue. Glue in that it holds us together, spider's web in that there's all these different connections. So it helps surface a whole bunch of connections that we would have never found, or might have taken us 10 years to find one connection, right? But now it's just boom, 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 automatic, super fast. And this is where software and, dare I say, artificial intelligence can help a lot. And just a quick word on artificial intelligence. There's basically two schools of thought as to how we can get to super intelligence. One is through artificial intelligence. The other is collective superintelligence, where the intelligence is really in not just the individual craniums, that's important, but the connections. Look at this magical combination we have here. Shankar, Mayra, Melissa, Dharmendra, Jorge, Jamin, Benjamin. I don't know if Suzanne's still there. Suzanne, all of us together. This is a magical combination. This is a beautiful combination. Think of the collective mind of all of us. There's no way any one of us could have come up with what this mind can come up with together, all of us together. And so back to the huge flock of 7.6 billion birds all flying around. A group of birds comes together, solves a problem, cha-ching, done. That solution then feeds into something else that was waiting for that solution to emerge. And then now that's a solid component, boop, that fits into something else that can now be solved. Boom, solved. Solve, 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 solve. It's going to be like a popcorn machine, popping out solutions, right? Many of them are just missing pieces, right? We have the solution to cooling the planet. It's called solar radiation management. So that part of the solution is not missing. What's missing are the political solutions, financial solutions, industrial, logistics, ocean engineering, media, right? Culture, getting humanity to support this. So there's all these other solutions that are missing. Yes, the core of it, SRM, that's designed, fine. But it's not implemented because we as humanity have not figured out all the rest of the solutions that we need to put together. So,
I just, sorry.
yeah, oh no, please, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
I wanted to just put a suggestion forward, which is right now in the world that I work in and tour around in, which is environmental justice, social justice through the arts and through culture and storytelling. The main focus right now, and I can only speak for the Northwest, but I'm sure it's most of America, especially since Donald Trump, I believe today, has closed the borders to a huge handful of countries which are war-torn and have a lot of refugees. The big one is social justice, and of course, environmental issues impact people of poor countries and war-torn countries the most. So I'm just wondering if you could ride on that wave and start to talk about social justice issues and environmental justice issues and bring the conversation around that to get more people involved and into a collective conversation. because I think you have to address the public on issues that they're focused on. And then by bringing them into the conversation, you can expand the conversation. So we haven't really talked about that before, and that's just what's coming to me while listening to all of you conversing. And I just wanted to put that forward as an idea to explore. Over and out.
Wouldn't that be like a really good thing to do with the 24-hour block parties, where we're really opening the radical collective intelligence to, you know, the open-ended application? That seems to me where that would just fit in, a no-brainer.
Absolutely. See, all these topics are fair game, and what I'm thinking is that after we start, see, first we just need to come together and meet each other. Hi, I'm Jamin. Oh, you're Jorge? Oh yeah, I heard about you, but I've never seen you before. Good to meet you, right? And, you know, come together and share, each of us share our own truth about, you know, what is important, what is urgent, and how we can get there together. And certainly a lot of the initial discussion is going to be about collective intelligence itself, which some people see as kind of, oh, it's sort of a computer science topic. Other people see it as sort of a spiritual thing. Other people see it as sort of a new agey thing. You know, so there's all these different concepts, because the reality is there is no one concept of collective intelligence. It's kind of like a big catch-all phrase like compassion, right? Oh, I'm compassionate. Hey, let's go get some bacon cheeseburgers, right? So it's something which really needs to be defined. And so a part of it is just figuring out what is this thing called collective intelligence and what do we want to do with it, right? As you saw on the 30 minutes of video, Jorge, you know, we have at Radish and surrounding communities, including all of you, we together have come up with a big vision, but it's not the only big vision. So I want everyone to come to the table with their visions and dreams of what we can do with collective intelligence, so that similar to our process here in Vegan World 2026 collective intelligence, we can build towards a consensus, right? Good enough to start, good enough for now, safe enough to try, right? But let's do this together. Yes, I'm happy to share my vision. I think it's great. Other people think their visions are great. Share.
And on the sharing note, I'd like to offer something, if that's okay. You had mentioned about collective intelligence, and of course that can get extremely complex very quickly if you really open yourself up to what that implies. But we humans, on another note, from another angle, have the capacity to think, we have the capacity to feel, and we have the capacity to act. Those are our basic skills that every human being on the planet can relate to. So when I think of thinking, I go immediately to your super intelligence, you know, web, Jamin, and I think of how the technology could be used to support and ease our ability to think in really creative and radical and innovative and multidimensional and all kinds of incredible ways. And when I think of feeling, I go to Jorge and I think of sociocracy, and I think of it as a very enlightened form of respectful and loving interaction with each other, but also in a way that gets things done. And then when I go into action, I think of, well, I'll just toot my own horn, and I think of vegan synergy meditation, because you have to bring meditation into your actions in order for your actions to come from a place of peacefulness. So to me, it's like, that's just, if I want to start to define, that's what impacts me, that's my offering, is that we're a thinking, feeling, and acting creature. And we each there right now in this room, there are 3 people that are bringing something to the table that is major contribution in Vegan World 2026 already, and in other platforms that exist, that is actually beginning to give space and train those skills of acting out of a space of meditative awareness, of treating everybody with loving kindness and respect through sociocracy in a mutually created and participated in and evolved and envisioned sociocracy and a superintelligence, you know, way of using technology that is growing and evolving. And so sometimes I just see that it can get incredibly complex very quickly, but if we can zoom in on the actual essential central aspects of what it is to be a human being who can think and feel and act. And we have other qualities, but those three, everybody on the planet can relate to. We're not even addressing intuition or compassion or anything yet. Just the three basic skills that everybody on the planet can relate to. I don't care who you are. And from there, we start a user-friendly dialogue about what our collective intelligence is and how we're starting already to give form to it through our thoughts and you know, and through our feeling and through our actions. Enough said for now.
Beautiful, beautiful. By the way, we're getting a little bit of microphone feedback, so I just want to ask everyone to please mute when you're not talking. Feel free to unmute when you want to talk, and we definitely want to hear from you. So unmute at any time and jump in. What a beautiful conversation.
I have a quick question about how this all works. The first meeting, the meeting on the 14th, the first block party. If a particular collective intelligence shows up at one period of the day to talk to another collective intelligence that happens to be showing up later in the day, how do they talk to each other?
Yeah, totally. So the short answer is that the way they talk to each other is that both of those separate conversations will be recorded, and the others will be able to go back and watch and listen and all that. The longer answer is, and now think of the evolutionary trajectory of this whole thing, from one Friday to the next, to the next, to the next. We may start with just one Zoom video conference on the first one. The next one we may have 4, the next one we may have 15, and so on. And also, as people find out about it and reach out and say, hey, I want to be a part of this, people will be able to schedule their own meetings, especially as we unconstrain ourselves in terms of the number of video conference rooms. So there will be essentially an unlimited number of channels in this collective intelligence block party network. So anytime anyone wants to put out anything, they say, well, you know, we're going to give this presentation and open roundtable discussion from 2 to 4 p.m. Pacific time on Friday. We'll be there. That way, other groups will be able to scan the calendar and see who's talking. Oh, hey, we should talk with them. This would be a great opportunity to connect with them, and they schedule themselves to show up to that, you know, roundtable discussion, and so on. And but you see, we're just scratching the surface here, because there are so many ways that we can communicate with each other and coordinate and say, hey, why don't we do a joint roundtable? We'll bring 4 people from our movement, you bring 4 from your movement, and let's mash it up, right? People can reach out. And we want this to be a totally decentralized thing. So, you know, everything has to start somewhere. So this happens to be starting on Radish, because that's the name of my house. So party at Jamin's place, everyone's welcome, right? But then over time, we want people to be able to access and post to an open source distributed calendar of events. So anyone can schedule an event at any time during those 24 hours, right? Now, what's so magical about those 24 hours? What about the rest of the days in the week? So here's kind of our expansion plan. We start with that one 24-hour period. That's called the block party. 6 a.m. Friday to 6 a.m. Saturday, Pacific time. And then when we're ready, we add another 24-hour period preceding that one, and we call that the tailgate party, from 6 a.m. Thursday to 6 a.m. Friday, right? Well, I'm going to be traveling on Friday. Well, come to the tailgate party. Give your talk then. And then what could we do after the block party? I know, an after party from 6 a.m. Saturday to 6 a.m. Sunday. So with that, we cover 72 hours. And then ultimately, it'll extend to be 24/7 nonstop collective intelligence. Anytime you have a question, an answer, you wake up at 4 in the morning, you can't sleep, you search and see what conversations are happening, boom, you jump in and contribute. Back to you, Benjamin.
So what I understand is, to begin with, it's not going to be, it couldn't be a real-time collective intelligence the first day, right? Like, because if someone shows up at the beginning of the day, they're recorded, and another group shows up later, that first group's not going to know what that second group talked about. So eventually, I understand that it will be, everyone will be able, well, I still don't quite understand how it will, is it not a real-time collective intelligence? It's kind of an offline collective intelligence.
Well, I mean, it is real time for the people who are there. Just like for us, what's happening right here is real time right here, right now. So it will be real time, but you know, it's going to take some doing to go from where we are starting to where we want to get to, right? And I'm starting to sound like Anne, where she's saying, just hang in there, you know, we're building the foundations. So this is one of those foundational steps where it's a 24-hour block party for humanity to show up from anywhere around the world, right? And just show up and just say, hi, I'm just checking in. I heard this collective intelligence thing is starting up and don't really know too much about it, but I want to be a part of it. My name is Robert from Kansas City, and I'm just saying hi, right? Now, part of the cool thing about that is that if indeed this block party, this series of block parties is the beginning of collective superintelligence, then whatever is said at the first one of those will be forever recorded in history. Here's meeting number 1 of a collective intelligence to which all of humanity is invited. And here's the transcript. You may not want to read it all. It would take you a long time to read it, but you can search through it, search, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And so part of the big idea is that this, over time, becomes a thing, right? That people hear more and more about, and then they finally show up to check it out, or they watch a recording of a meeting that already happened, et cetera. And, you know, over time, we'll evolve the software and the systems and everything else to make it much more fluid and easy to use, et cetera.
I got you. Yeah, so it is definitely, there may be a little bit of a slog through the mud to begin with, and then eventually, once enough conversations are happening, it will be a real-time collective intelligence. And there will be many collective intelligences happening in real time too within each conversation. Gotcha.
Hey, Jamin and Benjamin, both IT guys as well as myself. I just had this image while you were talking there, Jamin, where, and I don't know if it exists yet, so I'll kind of defer to the greater IT knowledge if it does exist, but where you open up a user interface like this Zoom, and you can, just by moving your cursor, go from the meeting happening now to, and you slide it and goes to last week or the week before, whatever meeting you want to, and you can go right in there. But now, here was my thought. So we're on this meeting now. Let's say we're 10 block parties down the road, and we've discovered maybe 12 subjects that keep recurring that we'd like to have rooms for. So you have this thing, all of a sudden it occurred to my mind, called the round table. So you open up a new type of Zoom that's the code's been written for, and you see this round table of 12 different, whatever little icons they are. And so throughout that 24-hour period, any room that's active at that time would be lit up. So when you join the block party in that 24 hours, you might see 3 or 4 lit up, and they all have their specific, whatever that theme is that they're going through, and you can click on it, zoom into it, join it, and then you can always zoom out. And maybe if you need to, and then it'd be indexed, so if you need to, a certain theme comes up, somebody hops out of the meeting, scans through the directory to find what meeting had a really good discussion on some topic that came up, and you bring that up, and then there's a way in the technology to link that to your present meeting so you have it as a reference. I don't know, I'm just starting to see all these pictures of how it could actually start to work. But I mean, obviously I'm not a code writer, but I could see that code could be written for that one, and that would just be really, I mean, I'm starting to actually see it now a little bit. It's taken a while because it's quite a profound use of technology, but I see that that'd be really fun to open up a user interface, see a little round table with little icons lit up of which rooms are active under which themes down the road a little bit, and then be able to slide into past meetings and stuff and reference things that could be relevant. I mean, I'm actually starting to get an idea of what you've been talking about now for so many months. It's fascinating. I don't know if that made any sense, but
no, totally.
Yeah, and Dharmendra, you just popped an idea into my spirit. Why not have a giant round table in the room, like King Arthur and the Knights, the round table, which doesn't, it's not about hierarchy, but everyone can join in the conversation sitting at the round table.
Right. Well, to me, that's the essence of vegan synergy meditation. That's what we practice. It's a round table. And even though I might be guiding a process, it's like everybody has total authority. And the unique thing about it is it's like taking sociocracy to the next level because everybody's their own governance. You have to bring your own governance already just to get into that meeting and understand how to work it. It's already assumed all the principles of sociocracy are integrated into the way you behave in that meeting. Because the more I see sociocracy, the more I see that. And I don't know sociocracy, but it makes so much sense as a collective interactive tool of empowering to get things done.
Maida has been waiting patiently. Maida, you're on mute.
Ah.
Okay, let me get myself unmuted. This almost reminds me a lot of back in the day when I was, I'm going to say like around 18, 19, when Yahoo and I think Yahoo was one of the most websites that was like trending back in the day. And then it used to have that list of places that you wanted to visit. You will go into a place that it was like chat rooms. I think that's what it was called. And you will click on it, and then you will go to different living rooms of chat rooms, and it had different subjects of what you wanted to talk about, or even for single people, like you guys want to meet, or some single guys or woman you guys want to meet, vice versa. So back in the day, I mean, who didn't do it? I was in it. And yeah, I got to meet some fabulous people that we even still talk to each other. And this kind of reminds me of that a little bit. Like, it's like a network coming together. In this particular purpose, it's becoming together as of healing the earth, veganism. So it's wonderful. And you know what, as a matter of fact, with us, within the organization that I've been a part of since I was 5 years old, maybe, and maybe earlier than that. Every Saturday we give a study center. Every Saturday, no matter if it rains, no matter what happens, if it's a holiday, we always give a study center, and we touch basic things such as like numerology. Oh, let's talk about astrology. We even had Sailesh there once, and this is how I got into this movement with Vegan World. And I was thinking right now, as you're talking to this, I was thinking if you would be willing. I have an open space this Saturday. I know the rest of the week, the rest of the month of February, I have it busy. However, this Saturday it was canceled. And I would like to know, since you're fluent in Spanish, you will be interested to talk about the collective intelligence. Tell people why Vegan World 2026. Why do we have 6 years to work hard on this? And start inviting people. This website that I have on Facebook, it's called UGF, Universal Great Fellowship, and it's a cultural network for humanity. Once again, I mean, it's just different aspects that we always invite different characters from out of the country, characters from Mexico, from United States. They give us recipes. It's just anything. The only thing that we do not get involved is within politics and religion, because these are two subjects that's always separating people. Instead of uniting them, they always separate them. So those are two aspects that we never invite people to talk about their if they're running a political campaign or religious stuff. We don't. So I would like to know if you're available this Saturday. It's every Saturday at 10 a.m. Arizona time, and start calling on people. Hey, this is what we're doing. Come and join us. It's going to be fun. And talk about this whole purpose, and talk about it in Spanish, because in an organization, it's been more in the Latin America and Europe, like Spain and Italy. So when we do invite a character, I start sharing it in different type of groups. For instance, this last Saturday, we were talking about astrology, about the second entering of Aquarius, astrology-wise. And it was given by one of our gurus. And it was really interesting. The only thing is that he's in Argentina, and there was a really bad internet connection. But still, we reached out to almost 2,500 people. So now 2,500 people now have an idea of what the Aquarius era means. So let me know if you're interested, and I'll be more than glad to book you in.
I am interested. Melissa and I, by default, we're going to be going to a different event on Saturday, but I think this would probably be more important, especially with the reach that we can have. And then another really interesting thing we can do, Maida, is on Saturday, February 14th, Friday, February 14th itself, we could start with 2 rooms, one English, one Spanish.
Yes.
And if we could, and the thing is, I can't be 2 places at once, you know, and, you know, the primary audience initially is English, but I mean, goodness, Spanish, the Spanish cultures, plural, as you know, Maida, as you know, Jorge, as most of us probably know, we are cultures where we love to talk. We love to share. We love to connect. We love to convivir, live with each other, right? And so I actually have a lot of faith and hope for the Spanish-speaking world to really embrace collective intelligence. So let's you and I talk, Maida. Jorge, let's you and I and Sylvie also connect, and let's see what we can put together for a Spanish-speaking kickoff to this, right? Where maybe Maida, Jorge, and others could, you know, help sort of be the, you know, the anchor, you know, just for starters, kind of like what I'm doing right now, what Anne does for Vegan World 2026, Collective Intelligence, etc. Anyway, so let's explore that. But basically, I am very interested. I just need to talk with Melissa and make sure that we're okay with that. But I've got it down 10 a.m. Arizona time Saturday.
Yeah, and Jamin, I also wanted to, I think that's a great idea. And Maida, that's beautiful to extend that invitation. So thank you. And one of the comments I wanted to make when we were talking about inclusivity and social justice is that we start to bring into this conversation people of color, First Nations, etc. So that's really awesome. And there's a possibility of maybe connecting Enzo and Franti and Alice in Mexico to and even Rafael, maybe. I don't know if you can pull them in. That could be awesome. And yeah, we can figure out this weekend so that you can be available Saturday. Sure, that sounds great.
Beautiful, beautiful. Wow. No, thank you, Maida. Thank you. That is so super cool. And you know, I just see this thing taking off like crazy. In fact, you know, there's so many things to talk about. So I really encourage people to keep jumping in. And please mute your microphone when you're not talking so we don't get the...
I have a quick question.
Oh, go Benjamin.
Maida, what was the name of the group?
You can search it up on Facebook, and it's called UGF Net. UGF Net. That's how you search it. And then basically it has like 2 trees together. And then it says UGF, a network a cultural network for humanity. That's what it's called. In Spanish, if you search on Facebook, you will see all over the place, but it's more of in the Mexican or Latin America language, it will be Red GFU, una red de cultura para la humanidad, something like this.
And it stands for Universal Grade Fellowship. Grade, GRADE.
See, this is a thing. This whole movement started since 1948 by Serge Reynaud de la Ferrière. He was originally from Italy, France, and he started this movement as Universal Grade Brotherhood. Is affiliated with the UN, and he traveled all around the world. And then when he came to Venezuela, they decided to modify the name as Gran Fraternidad Universal. So with the Brotherhood and now with Fraternidad, as it started coming more up into the central part of America and Mexico, and a lot of women that were involved in this organization, and they started seeing this organization because of the name. It almost like related more to a man organization, because they feel like, okay, fraternidad, brotherhood, and where are we? This should be like something where it's men and women. What I think is that in reality, Serge Reynaud de la Ferrière, he meant to name it Hermandad. Because if you put hermandad, it translates as brotherhood. And a lot of, and I mean, back in the day when you wanted to translate something, it was so limited to words that I honestly think that it was hermandad, what he tried to make this organization. So now that it's here in the United States, me being the vice president for Networks and Diffusion, I started saying, we're not brotherhood, we're not fraternity. Maybe this worked in Mexico because fraternidad is, let me give you a fraternal hug. It's a beautiful meaning. But here in the United States, fraternity is not a good word. So what I did here is like, right here, it's not gonna be brotherhood, it's not gonna be fraternity, because here in the United States, it's more of a woman already take a lot of part in society, and we don't want them to feel left out. So right here is going to be fellowship. So that's what I did here in United States. So I mean, it has been a name that has been modified through the years, and the beautiful thing about this organization is that the main focus is to help humanity how to become better within their spiritual state of mind, their emotional, mental, and physically. But it did all started with the precise diet of ovo-lacto-vegetarian. But it was because back in the day, the industry wasn't as it is right now. Back in the day, well, you would have these chickens in your backyard, and you would share the eggs with the chicks. Or you will have a cow in the ranch, and you would go and get the milk. But you were not killing the animals. They were not suffering as they are right now. So it was like a normal diet. You had to be ovo-lacto-vegetarian in order to become a part of this organization for 6 months prior. Now, the day when I invited Sailesh to do a study center one of the Saturdays, everybody in the organization was like, okay, wait a minute. Now we see that a lot of these poor animals, they're suffering. And our organization promotes a peaceful compassion, and this is to get yourself better. So now they're trying to transition into a plant-based diet more than ovo-lacto-vegetarians, because now we know that we're not only causing suffering to animals, but we are causing suffering to us also. So yeah, that's who we are.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Wow. Awesome. Awesome.
I found them on Facebook. I'm looking forward to looking into it further.
And it seems like it has English and Spanish both. I was looking at it too. So that's kind of a nice mix. Cool.
Yes, here in United States, we have tried for the last 30 years to make it very active, because this is an organization that has been helping a lot of people, thousands and thousands of people, because we start by practicing llamas and iyamas, which stands by nonviolence, by compassionate, by taking care of your body, by actively being physically always either practicing yoga or any type of martial arts, where the main purpose is to always keep centered, not too much of the female side, not too much of the male side. So here in the United States, we have failed because we have found out that here it's all about money. It's very materialistic, sadly. Right here in the United States, we don't have any ashrams. In Mexico, we have, oh my goodness, like 15 ashrams already built. And we have ashram built in Italy and in Spain, all the way to, we have 3 in Colombia. And these are ashrams where people go for a spiritual retreat. It's amazing. Here in the United States, it's been very, very challenging.
I guess that's why we have the Zoom, because it's the only way we can come together as a collective and do these things. That's how we have to manage it here in America, because yeah, it would be way expensive to create that here. And it wouldn't even be, it wouldn't even be cost effective. It'd be crazy.
Yes, definitely. It's funny because 2 weekends ago, so we have about 12 gurus right now, which they dedicated their life to travel all around the world and to give a peaceful message. And it all starts within yourself. You can't change the world if you're not changing yourself. So towards the beginning of the year, with all those missiles that were sent to Iran, the coronavirus, and the earthquakes in Puerto Rico, and the volcanoes erupting, and a lot of members in the organization started getting worried, and they were like, oh my God, is this how it's gonna be the rest of the year? We do have a member that is on the top of the organization. He's in retirement right now, but he still has a voice. And everybody was so concerned that they were like, okay, so what's gonna happen? What do we do? And he said, you know what? I want you guys to be focused into Mesa, Arizona, because the message that Sailesh gave is amazing. And I feel like we have to follow his type of message now, because he is promoting a more conscientiousness state of mind for humanity. And this is why I was saying at the beginning when we came here, this is not only about veganism. It's about finding your own potential as a human when you eat foods of light. So, I mean, yes, it was so amazing to listen to him say that. And this is the reason why I'm here, and why we told Sailesh since the beginning, and Jackie and everybody. And we were like, how can we help you? Show us the path.
And just to add to that and build on that, what we eat is really the foundation of everything else, because it's our physical form and how we treat it. And from there is built upon that our emotional body, our mental body, our heart, our voice, our vision, and our connection to source. And those are all built on that first foundation. If we're not loving our body through our actions, through what we eat and everything else, then everything else is just words. We're not living anything, because it's most profoundly in our actions that we show what we're doing with our body and what we take into our body. And so I think that's a very profound thing that your teacher said, And also just something my teacher said many years ago. He said at a certain point on this earth, it's going to become so intense that the only cave you're going to be able to hide in is the one in the cave of the wisdom of the heart. And that begins with loving yourself. And bringing meditation, if you don't mind that word, meditation, which just means with love and awareness, is really what it means, into everything you do, from what you eat, how you act, how you feel, how you think, who you care about, what you give voice to, how you choose to see the world, and how do you choose to relate to the beyond, the greater forces.
Definitely. As a matter of fact, Bernardo Trujillo, the person that was here earlier, he has a group of people that go into, they connect through Camfrog, I think, and they do meditation sessions. And this entire organization, we have been practicing yoga throughout our lives because we know that that is the connection with the kingdom of heaven, which is in your heart. A lot of people, they say religiously, why is talking, and I don't want to talk about no religions or nothing. I'm not religious whatsoever, but I do respect every religion out there. But religious wise, they show you that there is a heaven and that there is a hell, and if you don't do things right, well, then you go to hell and you're not going to ever see the kingdom of heaven. In this organization, they teach you something completely different. They teach you more of heaven and hell. It's just nothing but a state of mind. You decide where you want to be, and you decide it by respecting, loving, caring. Jesus Christ, he was here more than 2,000 years ago, and he said it, love one another. Now, it's really hard to understand that concept for a lot of people. Love one another, love yourself, and love others. And meaning others, I see it as love every living creature, everything, everyone. So yeah, we do. I love the meditation. I feel like that with prayer, we call on God. But through meditation, through silence, we listen to God because it's that God inside is the same. This is why we are one single person. No matter what race you are, no matter what color you are, no matter nothing, we are one in essence. God is within every one of us, and that kingdom of heaven, it's inside. It's beating right there, almost like 50,000 times a day, reminding you that you're alive. And that you're here to love.
Hey, Myra, I would love if you could make it. I don't know what your schedule is like. I would love it if you could make it to a vegan synergy meditation, because everything you're saying is literally words out of my own mouth. It's just literally the same thing put into practice, though. We don't just talk about it. We actually go into that place with open eyes, conversationally, from a space of meditation and love. And a lot of the people in this meeting even now have been to, God, probably a dozen of these meditations. It's in Vegan World 2026. It's one of the groups. But I also invite Jorge and Shankar, who haven't yet jumped into a vegan synergy meditation, because it's really about taking the thing Jamin talks about so much, conversation, and then adding meditation to it, and then sharing it all together in a round table. And it's all about, connecting into your center, remaining center. The world's going to get very challenging very soon. It already is. And the only thing we can call upon when we're in our own space, and we're always in our own space, no matter who we're with, is that kingdom of heaven from, that's within. And that's your state of mind. And that comes from being centered in your essence. It's the only way you can contact it. It cannot come from a mental concept or an emotional state or anything you do. It comes from a deep understanding of inner silence and connection to through stillness to the truth. And so I just put that out because you just said so many things that I've heard myself say exactly and how I describe it too. Excuse me, because it really does come from direct experience. It's not something you can just make up or read from somebody else. You have to have been through it. Then you can speak that way, because that's just been my experience. It has to come from your own direct experience through deep meditation, which I've been, not bragging, but I've been doing it for 5 decades, 50 years. I started when I was 12. I'll be 62 this year. So it's always been a part of my life since I was a little guy. And
yes, definitely. It is very important to learn how to meditate and to not only stay in the theory, to actually take action, because for a lot of people, we have too much information here already. But what I tell always to my yoga students, and that is very essential to also practice yoga, because that helps you to also get centered, because you're doing an asana one side, you're doing an asana the other side. Sadly, yoga has been commercialized. really badly everywhere, worldwide. Now you see people practicing yoga with the Corona beer in their arms, and it's sad because it takes a lot of preparation, and it takes a lot of years to practice asanas the way you should. For instance, we in the organization, the yoga that is more popular is the Hatha yoga, and it's based in 4 groups. Physically, you work with asanas in your physical wise, emotionally wise, mentality wise, and spiritual wise, and then you get connected to here, which is your essence, because yoga is a science. So when you're working within your physical body, you start realizing, once you start working with your left and your right, and you start connecting to your intuition, which is on the right side. And your intuition is never mistakenly. Your intuition always tells you what is it that you're supposed to be doing. But we like to play the fool, and sometimes we don't like to listen to it. But once we do get connected to that through taking care of our bodies, through practicing, for instance, I practice martial arts also, and it helps a lot, because once you get that intuition, that right side of your brain active, a little bit more than the male, because we need both of them. But this one is more always trying to understand things, and this one already has the answers. It takes a lot to get into a meditation mode. You have to really prepare your body for that. Here in this group, just being vegan and going plant-based, we're already a lot of steps forward into going into a meditation mode. And it's amazing, because once you get to put your, I'm gonna say, not completely put your brain in silence, because your brain by nature is always working and it's always thinking, but just able to listen to that intuition, it's amazing. It's amazing. And that is what gets you to the healing mode, and not staying only in the theory.
Right, and that's where witnessing comes in, because that's what meditation teaches you, is to be a silent witness, so that the brain carries on. It's going to have its thoughts. Your feelings are going to go through whatever. Your body's going to have its sensations and whatever goes on there. And yet, to get in touch with that intuition, you just have to stop engaging that. At the beginning of every vegan synergy meditation, we do what I call stopping the world and getting off the world train, and just settling into yourself here and now, and feeling where you're at the moment. And then we go through a series of stages that basically covers all the different aspects of what it is to be human. And so it's like taking, I guess you could say, when I first started many years ago, I was doing yoga practice, because I was doing hard style martial arts, karate and that kind of thing. But in the last several decades, it's just been Tai Chi and the softer, more internal. Although it's much more advanced if you use it for martial arts, it's much more effective. But most people don't know that. They see it as a old people stay healthy sort of thing to do. But real Tai Chi is not like that. It's very dynamic. It has fast and slow and spirals, and it's very creative. And but in any case, to work with the spectrum of consciousness of what it is to be human, that's what the Vegan Synergy meditation is about, is to start with your shadow, to start with that place in you that's giving you the greatest challenge, and then learn to absorb that into your heart and love that place in yourself. Then you're immediately in the intuition. And each person opens that and shares it. So, and that in itself is a practice of sincerity and loving yourself and honesty and exposing things. And then learning how to develop compassion by loving that place in yourself, that wounded place in yourself. And eventually we step into the place where we're open to the higher consciousness that exists all around us, but have to go through the first 2 stages in order to slowly accelerate your consciousness, so it's not a shock. You can't just jump straight into a higher consciousness from a state of just coming out of worldly engagement. As you know, it's a gradual process. And so just to give an idea of, and it kind of, because I got really deeply into yoga and all the stages from hatha to samadhi, and dhyana and dharana and pratyahara and pranayama, yama and niyama, and all of them. And it's kind of included in this, and it's just something that's taken a lot of years to synthesize, but there is a way to do it. And everything you've been saying, you've been speaking so beautifully about it, and it's all totally right on and correct in my experience also. all those things you're speaking about. And that is, and also what you're sharing is that you do need to, if you want to become somebody who can facilitate that, you have to put the years of the discipline into it and go through it the long, hard way, like I have or you have. And there's no way around that. But in the collective setting right now that's happening through the miracle of Zoom and Sailesh Rao's Vegan World 2026 and everything, what I found is if we get into a round table of people, and even just one or even two people have that practice and have integrated those things into their life experience, it can accelerate everybody else in the space. And they can start to pick up on things in a much quicker way, because once our minds open up and we're in our intuition and even deeper places, we can literally share those spaces together as if we were the same person. And then we can start to attract higher consciousness by coming together and sharing a shared consciousness space that's much more profound than just our own individual consciousness. And that creates a much more focused, essential, I guess you could call it, magnet for higher consciousness. And it actually does work. And I have witnesses here who could attest to that. And it's a very beautiful process. And it's because not everybody's going to have the time anymore or be at that age where they can jump into full yoga practice. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it, because I think it's the best way to go, is to do the discipline like I've done or you've done. But lacking that in the short amount of time we have, there's some very savvy processes that can accelerate the evolution very quickly. It may not give the greatest benefits on all the levels of physical, but then we have the veganism, so that helps tremendously with the loving the body and purifying the chemistry of all the toxic things that we were conditioned to take into ourselves as we grew up.
Suzanne and I have to get going. Great to see you all, and I think we'll either see you Saturday or I'll probably be at the meditation. So
oh good. I'd love to see you there. It's always wonderful to have you there. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right.
Great to
Bye,
see
y'all.
you.
Good night, everyone.
Again. See you
Good
soon.
night, Suzanne.
And Maida, I had muted you. I'll unmute you now. I had muted you because we were getting some feedback from the microphone.
That is weird because there is the TV is on, but it's in a very minor volume. Maybe it just captures every little noise.
I don't think it's the TV. I think it actually has to do with your computer, microphone, speakers. Something is going on there where we get.
Okay, that's completely fine. Don't worry.
I just wanted to say I have to jump out too. It was really lovely to meet you, Maria. Finally feel like I've met you now, and because you've elaborated a bit on who you are and where you come from.
Thank you.
We're
Likewise.
lucky. Yeah, we're lucky to have you here.
And
Thank
you two are neighbors, Dharmendra and Myra. You're both in
Where-
Arizona.
Where do you live?
In Mesa.
You live in Mesa?
Yeah.
Where in Mesa?
Nearby Cleanman Park on Extension Road and between Southern and Broadway.
You're kidding. I go pick up people at Broadway and Extension every day. I live right near Recker and University out in
Oh my
more
goodness.
eastern Mesa. Jackie's our neighbor too. She lives in Queen Creek.
Well, Jackie comes to yoga every morning. She drives 40 minutes for me to give her yoga class.
Oh, that's so cool. I had no idea you were a neighbor also. Wow, you live in the same town even. Cool.
Yeah, we need to meet. We need to get together. Every Sunday we have yoga, Hatha Yoga first group for the community, and it's open for everybody, and it's free. We don't charge for this.
Well, I'm a Tai Chi guy. I don't really do yoga anymore because I know what my body needs, and I can't. It doesn't really work for me yoga anymore. But Tai Chi's, because I've been doing it so long, it's what it's really accustomed to now.
Well,
But
you know what? Something I love Tai Chi. I love Tai Chi, and I really need a good instructor. We really in the yoga classes. I mean, we practice Tai Do. I think it's called Wushu in a lot of other countries.
Yeah.
We bring our bamboo stick, and it's all
Yeah.
about it's not just about yoga. It's about trying to work with that left and right brain
Well,
hemisphere.
I mean, if you want to learn more about Tai Chi, I've been teaching it since 1990.
Oh my
So-
God!
Yeah, I've been doing it since 1980. I've been into martial arts almost as long as meditation. So
We need to bring you. We need to bring you to the park because I'm passionate about Tai Chi, and I only know how to do the mirror.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk about that. That's something that could definitely come about for sure.
Yes, let's do that. Thank
Okay,
you.
take care. Bye, Jamin.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Jorge. Bye, Shankar.
See you, Dharmendra. Love you, brother.
See you soon.
Thank
Bye.
you. All righty. Wow, what cool stuff. You know, one thing I wanted to comment on that Dharmendra was talking about earlier with this kind of zooming in and out, or, you know, going backward and forward with time, is imagine this simple dialectic, okay? Imagine a certain group meets for a Zoom video conference on Friday, and then the next Friday again, and the next Friday again. Every Friday for 2 hours, let's say. What about all the space in between? Well, imagine that that same group meets on Reddit. They've got a Reddit page where they talk in between. Hey, that was a great meeting, da-da-da-da-da. It only occurred to me after the meeting to say this and this and this and this and this, right? Oh my goodness, what a great idea. We'll have to talk about that and da-da-da-da-da-da. All of that can be reviewed prior to the next Friday meeting. And so we call this a dialectic, right? A back and forth, a back and forth. Text-based, Reddit-based, asynchronous, not at the same time, whenever you want, to be 4 in the morning, anytime, just type it in. And synchronous, which is what we're doing right now. So that's just one example of how we can make it continuous. So anyway.
Nice. I'm gonna write down my phone number here, Jamin, in the chat, so you can probably take a screenshot, and we can you can confirm with me. So in case you do want to do that study center about collective intelligence and Vegan World 2026, so I can start promoting it as soon as you confirm to me. Okay? I was putting my old phone number.
I'm going to pause recording just for a moment. Okay, back on. Wow, my goodness, so exciting. I mean, it's just like, I've been working on collective intelligence for like the last 5 years, but, you know, just within whatever circles we're able to contact one-on-one, and then we have our Tuesday meetings. And now, you know, the Vegan World 2026 collective intelligence has really been the single biggest outgrowth from all this. And it's just like, wow, hey, if we can do this with the vegan community, why don't we do it with the world? Let's open this up. So that was the inspiration for the block party. And also it's also a matter of, you know, we can't afford to wait until everything's perfect, you know. Wait until we have the perfect platform, or wait until whatever. No, we can't wait anymore. It's time for humanity to come together and co-create all of the solutions that we need, including co-creating the collective intelligence platform, culture, community, etc., in all languages, right? So that was the genesis of the block party. Let's do this. So we're going to do it.
Yes. Well, it's 7:52 already. I haven't had dinner. I have my little sopita here.
Oh, no. Go. Have your dinner.
Yes. So thank you for everything. Thank you for everything. And I'm looking forward to more of this. You guys have a good night.
Wonderful. Me too. Thank you so much, Maida. Great to see you.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch very soon. Later tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh,
Jamin,
Jorge.
I also say good night. I've been hearing we're having dinner over there.
All
You're
right.
welcome to join us if you were around.
Thank you. Thank you.
So it was a long day, guys. Thank you. I was hearing, but I was not able to participate actually. But she was just walking around. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Shankar, Jorge, Sylvie, and company. Thank you all so much.
Good night.
Provecho. Have a good
Gracias.
See you soon. Thanks, everybody.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Banana.
Night. Night, Shankar. And it's just me, so I'll just put in one final plug for the Collective Intelligence Block Party, which will start Friday, February 14th at 6 a.m. Pacific time, Los Angeles time, if you will. And it'll go for 24 hours. And then it'll happen every single Friday for 24 hours, starting at the same exact time, 6 a.m. Pacific time, Friday, starting on February 14th. That'll be the first one, and then it'll happen every Friday. And you can get all the information, including the link to join the Block Party, on the homepage of radish.org. Just look for the Block Party banner, which will be at the top of radish.org, starting, I think, tomorrow. Well, it should be live tomorrow, February 5th. And we look forward to seeing everyone there. Please spread the word. Everyone is welcome, without exception. And in fact, everyone is needed. Humanity, we need to come together to make this happen. Thanks, everyone. See you soon.